Okay, welcome everybody. This is the Dev Metrics Working Group. And first of all, always we're going to go through the persistent links. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see my screen? I'm going to minimize this a bit. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
First off, it's MRs per month, and I believe this is the 1 second. Oops. Oh, it's per developer per month. 1 second. And I don't have Christopher's crystal ball with me, so I'm just going to wing it. It looks like we are doing almost the same as last month, or a bit better. Per author per month charts is at 7.44. We're still quite a bit off from the highs that we do reach at 9.13. I haven't looked into why that's the case. It could also be the move to CD and the confusing dates, though if we're releasing faster, there should be less gates around getting MRs in. I'm not sure if Craig, Dahlia, do you have any opinions and insights on this metric?
I'm wondering if it has to do with the influx of new engineers and a lot of new folks coming in and just getting their heads wrapped around what they're working on. Maybe a little slower to get MRs in.
I see. Do we know the rough onboarding? I know we have many people joining us this month. So
I have no idea. I'm just guessing. I have no evidence to support my thought.
Okay. I think we're doing better than last month, so that's a good sign. I'm going to move on to the total MRs. Second, I do not have that open. Monthly motion MRs. Here we go. I'll have this open before the meeting next time. Apologies for the lag. We're doing great. I took a peek on this chart early this morning, and we're doing better than last month. Really close to our previous all-time high at 1,600. It could be correlating with your hypothesis, Craig, because the number of MRs are going up, but then more people are coming in, so the division factor is more. Hence, the average is coming down. But this is great. I think we're on a going up trajectory, and I'm really happy to see this. And yeah, with community contributions, that's also telling the same story at 1,700. Great. Oh, and our all-time high with community contributions is 1,700 also, but on the top end of 1,700. Dahlia, any thoughts? I know you've been watching throughputs closely.
No, nothing to add. It is definitely one of the things I like to do is add more debugging, numbers. So number of contributor against each throughput would be great because it'll give us some insight into, is that the factoring divider that's causing the number to, like our average to go down and so on.
Yep.
But yeah, no, sorry. I similarly need to dig in a bit more and figure out because I'm also seeing differences between teams. So it's not a consistent pattern.
Okay, I know that we are replicating this in Periscope, so it will allow us to slice and dice at a high level faster without having to make code changes. So I think we're making progress there, correct, with Emily and the data team?
We are making some progress. I believe Emily is traveling at the moment, so we're trying to clean up the development dashboard. Sorry, Mac. The short answer is we're not making a ton of progress yet, but it's something that I'm hoping we continue to build on. We do have cycle time in place, so that was the new addition.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Moving on to time to resolve customer bugs. It's trending lower this month, which is good. But I do not see any improvements until we roll out the heat map and the training program, which is scheduled for Monday. I'll touch on that agenda later on in the meeting. Coming down to this is concerning to me. I haven't pulled down the list of CSV to see what was the bugs for this. I probably do it after this meeting because there is an evidence of more time accumulated here. And if it's because we closed out really old bugs, I think it's fine, but I need to go and see what is the actual story behind this.
Kind of expected it to look worse before it got better, right? As we
Yes.
address the older things that have been stagnating.
Yes, exactly. But we need to confirm that's the case, and if there's anything else that we did not factor in for. Jumping back to the agenda, scrolling down. Do we want to touch on hypotheses? Should we skip? I'm not sure if we made any updates here.
Yeah, I think we talked about removing this section from our agenda and focus on building the metrics. I'll leave it up to you, but there's not been any update from my side.
The last meeting, I think Christopher delegated us to Craig to see if we can.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Thank you. I apologize. So Craig, I'll turn it to you.
I thought you were bailing out of yours if you had some hypotheses you wanted to work on. Yeah, do you want me to take over the screen? I can kind of walk you through what I've done.
Yes, please.
So
I will stop sharing right now. Thank you.
Okay. I probably should have been prepared and actually had this open then. 1 second. All right. I've spent maybe a day total doing some research, and I recorded all my notes here. Still finding my way around the tools and what's available. So the wording on hypothesis 8 has to do with the size of the MRs, and developers with less tenure at GitLab come with a different methodology and small MRs compared to those who are longer tenured. So started with the research of, do we even measure the size of our MRs somewhere? Can we capture that information? Do we need to add anything? It looks like there was an MR sent a while back that actually captures the changes count, and it's available through the API, but I couldn't find it anywhere in Periscope. So the data is there. If I had to write some code to go through every single MR and get the changes count, it'd be kind of slow. So one of the questions I have is, can we get this data somewhere else? And that's listed down at the bottom or somewhere within this doc. So does anybody know, is this one field available somewhere in Periscope, or would we have to ask for another data extraction to get it included in the available data? I'll take silence as nobody knows. All right, so I'll follow up on that one.
It's most likely we need a new field in the ETL pipelines for that.
It's kind of what I figured. So data is available, but not easily retrievable at the moment. When trying to correlate all the data that I would need for this metric and to show any kind of graph that would be meaningful, there's data available in Periscope, data available in the quality dashboard. The team YAML will give us the tenure. Thanks for Mech for pointing me to all these data sources, and the changes count from the API. So there's no one single source where I can get all this information. So I'll have to find a way to correlate it all together. And then I just started writing down brainstorming ideas. So yeah, I got to combine all the information together, get running averages, and look for trends over interesting milestones. So I think there will be some interesting milestones at months 1, 3, 6, and then 12 and beyond. I think it will flatten out. There should be some kind of plateau there, but I could be wrong. That's why I have a hypothesis. And also looking for size of MRs at the time. I think the one observation that I've seen as a manager over the years is typically new employees, unless they already know the code very well because they're community contributors like we've had at Puppet and we've had here at GitLab, they're probably going to take on small and very well-defined issues just so they can get used to working at the new company, the processes, the people, the team, the code base, right? So it'll be hard to quantify that, hard to quantify methodologies. I think we're just going to see sizes and averages. So I'm not sure how we can quantify methodologies in here if we can at all. So And then the other point I put in there, it'd be interesting to count the number of comments on the developer MRs and see if there was a decline over time as people got used to the code base and had fewer questions. So that's what I did over the last 2 weeks.
That's great. Do we know if the changes counts the deletion as well as the addition? This code complexity, I'm not sure what the measure is for that metric. It could be both. If we're deleting a lot and the same functionality is there, that's great. It seems like a very high value MR.
Let me see. I believe it only counts files and lines. I don't think it differentiates between
Got it. Okay.
deletions or additions.
Okay, so it's neutral, which is good.
Yeah. So that's the progress I've made on 8. So I guess I should put in there next actions, figure out where I can get that changes count as part of an ETL somewhere in Periscope, and probably do some research, see if there's anything else so I don't have to keep asking for incremental changes to an ETL. Maybe I can get all in one. So any questions or any thoughts, any suggestions on other areas I should investigate on this? All right, must have nailed it. Hand it back over to Mick.
Thank you. And so we were focusing on 8. The 9 is still in the backlog, correct?
Yeah, I haven't started on 9 at all. There's no issue that's been created for that one, and I haven't done any work on it.
Okay, that's fine. We'll circle back next time around. Okay, moving on to the agenda item. This is the highest priority for this week. Kudos to Mark for jumping on the import. A backdrop for this is the audit with finance that we are going through, and since it's going to be on YouTube, that's will be all I'm saying. We have a list of projects that has been imported there now, and this will affect historical data for good reasons. I think this also solves the ask from you, Dahlia, and the secure team that they were missing these projects. We have been asked from finance to make sure that the additions, the inclusions of the remaining projects do not exceed 75% change. I think it's very, very small. Correct, Mark? It's like probably like less than 1%, given the count that I've seen.
Yeah, it's around 200 across 30 projects, 200 merge requests. And
then this is for all 2 years, correct? Or is it? What's the distribution?
So it's introduced a new 200 merge requests for all of those projects. So that will be if they're that old, if the projects are that old, but I don't think they are.
Okay. Can we have a rough idea of like what is the time cycles that it's affecting for these?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
So it's just merge dates. So I can dump out a list of merge dates so we know the range that's affected.
A rough merge dates will be fine, and it'll be important for the finance folks.
Okay, yeah. I'll put it on the that same issue.
Okay. Let me put it in the agenda as well.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. So this is almost there. Is there any action items from us? Do I need to approve the MR, and then the import's going to be included to the production dashboard? Or
it's already on production now.
Awesome. Great.
So it happened this morning.
Okay. My other question here is that, is there a file in GitLab Insights that contains the single source of truth? We have that issue that has a list of projects, so it's kind of scattered around.
Yeah.
Is there a file that we can point
There's
to?
no file, but there is the project view at the group level, which includes the whole list of projects.
And I think we talked about this before. Thanks for iterating it again for us here. And I will link it here as well. so people will understand where it is and what the context is. So the list here is under GitLab.org, and in a given dashboard, if you scroll down, so for example, if you're looking at throughputs, if you scroll down, these are all the projects imported for that chart. And if you're looking at this for Periscope, feel free to point Emily to the list here. This is a single source of truth. Thank you for that. Moving on. Because we are importing projects, I think it's important to also make sure that we have hygiene in those child projects. I think this will affect Christopher's exercise of labeling the MRs. I think we have a good hygiene at the big projects, CEEE, those are like 80% of the throughputs. But the edge cases, for example, if a new project gets created, it's relatively new, nobody bothered to add a throughput label there or a team or a group label there. It sounds like an automation grooming template that needs to be applied to all of these issues, and just have a bot just run through them. I wanted to open up for discussion here because this will affect the remaining 20% that we will never get turned into a colors. It's always going to be gray because it's like some project somewhere that nobody was looking at enforcing hygiene. Discussions, thoughts?
So Mike, you made a point about using the automation to go back and add the labels. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think these are specific small projects for a given group.
Yeah.
Right. So it could probably be like, hey, by default, all MRs in that project always get a group security scanning label or
right.
DevOps stage label. That solves one part of it. The other part is throughput, because we can't really infer automatically. Like, do you want? And I know Backstage and Feature has its own nuances if we're trying to improve there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can definitely pass this on to the team. I agree with you. We do want to have label hygiene across all MRs. Like anything you contribute, make sure to put a label. I think if we can make some progress with the automation, like if we're able to run the automation and get the group label added, that would be a great win. Because that's what I'm seeing, is that reinforcing and reiterating, doing these things manually has not been very successful, is what I'm trying to say.
No, we don't want to. I would love to infer what type, for example, if the code changes touches tests like 80% of the amount of changes, then we just put a Backstage label. And then if it's in, say, app models or migrations, that's like a feature per se. But it won't be perfect.
Well, no. I'm actually like, I feel like if we can do the group label, that is a huge step, because then we can move the responsibility to the group, and they will be categorized. So it's easy when we're debugging the undefined, that we can see which group needs to pay attention to it, if you will. I do agree with you if we can automate some of the other ones, but those are going to get tricky, because in our effort to break things into very small MRs, there are instances where you are putting your first MR and coming back and adding a lot more tests. Like the first MR will have tests for sure, but not all encompassing. So I don't want to start creating edge logic, and I'd much rather the engineers define that themselves.
Yes,
yeah.
I totally agree. You see my communication before in auto labeling, like we do not want to factor edge cases.
Exactly.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. So is it a reasonable action? Can we run the automation and add the group labels? And then I'm more than happy to run through all the stages, and the stages with a large number of undefined, pass the message that they need to take some time to do the cleanup.
So I would like to enlist help here. I think our team is fully backed up.
Okay.
If we can get an issue and then listing all the projects, what is the default stage group that we want? and the team label, because I think we haven't transitioned fully to groups label yet. So I think
gotcha.
we have to add both team and
Okay.
also stage. If we can have an issue with that, then our team can pick up and do the automation. But right now, we just need somebody to help frame it up, and then we'll take it up afterwards.
Okay.
Possibly.
Okay. Happy to. Please tag me, and I'll contribute, or I'll find someone who can contribute to it.
Okay. Thank you. I will work with you on that then. And this would probably be sometime in the next month or so. It'll be in the backlog. Okay.
And Mark proactively answered my question. Is there a way we can just remind the developers if labels are missing? And it looks like there's an issue out there to do that.
Yeah, I was wondering whether a triage package would help here, because we could find all of the merge requests without and then flag that for someone's attention, if that would help, where it's all in one place.
Yeah, that would be great, because the owners of the work are the product members and the managers, and they should have some context to help out as well.
Do we want to jump into the triage package now? I think the CSV export is already an iteration there, so they can always look at the latest data.
I'll leave it up to you. The other option is, as we transition some of this data to Periscope, I'll work with Emily to see if we can add filters, and that would be an easy way to filter the MRs without a label, so that I think right now it's more of a debugging exercise, people having a hard time identifying where those missing ones are.
Got it. Okay. So let's start with the default requirements first, and then Mark and I will see what's the best venue for this. We have changes in the triage packages coming as well, so I'm kind of cautioning the team not to overload that mechanism, because we do want to lower the time to resolve bugs, and that's the main actor there for triage packages. Okay, I'm moving on to the next one. Heat maps are coming in on Monday. I'm going to share my screen because I'm very proud of the team's work that went into this. There were a few bugs ongoing. 1 second. That prevented us from perfecting it this week. But essentially, this is how it's going to look like. This is an example for plan, and I feel bad picking plan all the time because that's always the first group that comes up. Essentially, a triage package would now have a heat map on what the state of current bugs for your group looks like. And for plan, this is a really good metric, because we have so much in P4 S4s. That's normal and that's good. Very small numbers that do not have priority label, but they do have severity, and we only have 3 that have no priority and severity, which is great. So yeah, it's going to look like this. And then the first section is for the product manager, the engineering manager, and the backend engineering manager. So this is coming in this coming Monday. And if you're interested to look at how the metric is like for your sub-teams, the triage report is the way to go. And this will also be in the triage training recording that I set up for Monday. Okay, next one is on me as well. I pinged Jeremy in Slack. The only remaining customer S1 and S2s that are not scheduled yet are mostly managed. Jeremy has been busy with the release blog post, being the release manager from the product side as well. So he's overbooked, but he's on it. And the next one is about bug SLO. So this has migrated to the product already. And the next iteration, I'm suggesting that we turn this into a time series data and just have it per month instead. I would like to open this up for discussions on what would be useful for engineering managers and leaders to look at in terms of missing SLOs. And for better context, let me just share my screen as well to show you what it looks like right now. So this is the one dimension. This is essentially how many P3 bugs that we missed the 30-day mark after the label P3 has been applied, after the priority has been applied. The top section is for customers, customer with bug. bug with customers, and then the latter is essentially just generic bugs with no customer label.
So when you say time series, we would have each of these for every, say, month?
Yes. So it'd be like three bar charts for a given month. Like for this has been opened, say 6 months ago or whatever, and it has how many P1, P2, P3s, the amount of bugs that were beyond that threshold. So this would give us like a rough timeline of like, are we burning down the tail end or are we burning down the front end that missed the mark?
Yeah, Meg, I think my proposal for a next iteration that would be extremely helpful is if we can, either when you click on this graph or particular data, if it could take you to the query that displays all the issues, because then it's very actionable and we can quickly look at this, highlight the problems, and easily transfer that into, here's a list that you need to pay attention to.
Right. I completely agree. That's on the roadmap. And we're going to point to the issue tracker with the labels. I think a big dependency here is querying by creation date is not there, and we use milestones and labels. So some building blocks would need to be there to have the granularity of the time series with the query. But with this, I think we can link it pretty easily because it's just a bug with a missed SLO label with the P3, and then you get like 78 issues. So yeah,
no, I hear you. I mean, even if it's spitting what's driving the data, that's still valuable. Okay. Because it'll also help us refine the graph if we feel that how we're like the aggregate of this data needs to be changed or updated.
Does the time series on created month make sense? Should we just run with that as the next iteration as well?
Yes, I would say that's extremely valuable.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the input on the requirements. I appreciate that. Going on to the next one, because 12.0 is a transition month, the current missed deliverable labels were added on the 7th. And I'm going through the closed ones, and I'm probably just going to remove the missed deliverable label because it's done. It was labeled on the 7th, but it's done now before we close the milestone, so it's considered done. The reason for this is that because it was labeled on the 7th, we are incurring more missed deliverable labels than we should be in truth, and it's and the PMs are looking at this, so we do want to make that metric more accurate. And going forward, it'll be applied when the milestone closes, which is the 23rd. This is all me this week. Next one, I'm pushing for label definitions to get merged by end of the week this week. I think my last comment has already addressed Olivier's concern. There are 2 tracks of labeling, just to set the context here. Issue labeling is based on feature and category labels, and that has been worked with product management already. And the issues bubble up to the direction page. What this group or working group is concerned about most is throughputs, and the auto labeling mechanism will be leaning towards authors instead, and then the flexibility of overriding manually. So I think the 80 for the 20 is addressed. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't move forward with this, and I'm looking forward to close it out. Any comments, discussions? Nope. Okay then. The last one, I have set up a time to do the recording training for triaging bugs. I have invited Jason, Nadia, and if folks in this meeting are interested, I'll add you to it as well. So we're going to do a run through of the heat map explaining what varieties and severities are supposed to be, we clarified the severity guidelines. The priority guidelines are very clear. So we would start out with that and then possibly close out with an AMA by towards the end of the month. So after people read this, watch it, they can ask us questions on, hey, how can I use severity and priority to better schedule for my teams and such. Does that sound good? Okay. Okay, then I will add a note here as well. Start with this, and then here's then maybe a May later. Okay, towards the end, we're going to review the exit criteria. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, last week we graded this at 55%. This is still 90% by Christopher. I think we touched on 9 MRs per author per month. And then our throughput is trending up this week, which is great. The second one is done. KPIs for this working group is done. Ensure customer-facing bugs have a priority label. This is 50%. I think all the S&P labels are applied. We are triaging the customer bugs right now. We will look into this later for the rest of the customer-affecting bugs with no priority and severity. The time to resolve S1, S2 is done. We are still monitoring this. I would grade this at 50% because we have the metrics done already, but we need to burn it down or some number lower. Does this group have any opinions on the progress here?
Sounds about right. On 50%.
Okay. Maybe 40 because the number is not there, but yeah, I'll make an MR after this and peg this at roughly 40 to 50%. An effective iteration to the current group triage packages to highlight customer affecting defects. This is still halfway done. Heat maps are coming in. We're going to add some context around customer affecting bugs there later, and it will be done. Triage training is going to be 50% by Monday after we have the recording, and then we'll close it out after we have the AMA. I do not have visibility on training for engineering managers on KPI. I'm not sure if Dali, do you have any idea on this? Would you like to schedule something with us? Or
no, we should. What I'm running through my mind. One of the things that I did, although it's blurry right now, is link the video that you, Eric, and I had around throughput. So the throughput page should have that. No, it doesn't look like I finished the MR. So I'll add an MR to link to that video. I have been doing it with all of my managers, but I need a recorded artifact. So I'll get someone, one of the managers, to run through it in a recorded form, and we can post that.
Okay, that sounds great. And we can circle back on this next week as well. Sorry, next week. I think next week is Independence Day, so we will have the meeting in 2 weeks. I guess that is it. Any questions, closing remarks? Okay. Huge kudos to Mark with the project import and doing all the triage automation updates. And I'll see you all next time. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Great updates all around. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.